Hey, Dario, thanks for your video. I think I agree with you that simply walking away is a little too simple because the whole industrial structure is in place and it's used up so much of the land. Um, and so it would be difficult to find um, the natural bounty that hunter gatherers were provided with prior to industrialization. And not only that, but um, human beings are fragile as it is, and for us to expect to be able to just return to a natural setting and survive without having been handed down, generations upon generations of knowledge of the seasons and how to hunt in this particular region and so forth. I think that's a bit naive. Um, it would be it would literally be hell because the people around us would be dying and we would be struggling and starving, and so we can't just return to the forest or something like that. But that said, industrial civilization seems to be crashing down all around us, and while I don't think we're going to have to start from scratch, I think well, for example, there's James Lovelock's prediction. He's a climatologist who came up with the Gaia theory. He predicts that global warming is already past the point of no return, and within 100 years, global mean temperature, will rise around 3 to 5 degrees Celsius, and the Antarctic ice shelves and the Greenland ice shelves will melt. Sea level will rise. We're talking meters, a few meters, and um, climate change will increase the size of deserts. Agriculture for many parts of the world will become more difficult, if not impossible. Oil will run out. We won't have oil fertilizers, which really are the only things that allowed us to produce enough food to grow our population exponentially during the past century. Which that's and well, Lovelock's prediction then is that by 2100 the population of the Earth will be around 500 million human beings living somewhere in the northern part of the northern hemisphere, because everywhere else will be rather it'll be difficult to grow or to have any kind of large scale agriculture. Um, and so we talk about having options and ask what we should do, but from that perspective, from Lovelock's perspective, it's really too late. All we can do now is minimize the damage and prepare as much as we can. And I'm inclined to take Lovelock seriously because in the 70s he was doing research into the makeup of the atmosphere and developed a very sensitive um, chemical reader which measured the molecular composition of the air, and he discovered chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, but actually didn't think that it was an issue. He said there's such small levels that there's really no possible harm that could come of these things. Meanwhile, other environmentalists and scientists thought that this was a huge problem and that it was going to melt a hole in the atmosphere and the ozone layer and so forth. And they turned out to be right. Lovelock was very skeptical of this, and so knowing that that's his history, that he's been a environmental skeptic in the past, but now seeing how um, concerned he is that climate change has already reached the point where even if we stopped emitting all carbon and methane into the air today, it would really we're already facing disaster. I mean, to know that this is not a guy who exaggerates, at least based on his past record, makes me take him more seriously. Um, so we may not have to ask that question: is 7 billion too many? The Earth, it will fix it for us, and to call it a fix or a solution, that does sound fascist. But again, I don't want to even begin to imagine the degree of suffering um, that would be entailed if Lovelock's scenario is accurate. It's not as though 6.5 billion people will die in a single day. Certainly, the birth rate will lower, and so that'll kind of factor in, but there will be an untold amount of suffering. And this is how evolution occurs. There's a bottleneck, and those organisms which can adapt will continue on into the future. Those that cannot will go extinct. And this is the way of nature, and it's a terrible, disastrous, and chaotic thing, but at the same time, it's what creates new and more beautiful and stronger and so forth organisms. And that's why we're here. We're here because an asteroid wiped out the dinosaurs, and oxygen respirating organisms are here because the original anaerobic bacteria which inhabited the oceans of the planet let off oxygen as pollution and almost wiped themselves out. But so you can see how life creates through destruction, and human beings are not immune to that natural process. So yeah, this is a pretty depressing video, but I would really enjoy hearing from some more optimistic perspectives, just to give me something else to have hope in, because I do a lot of reading in this area, and it's difficult for me to arrive at any more hopeful predictions for the future. I mean, I'm hopeful that human beings will survive, but just not at the number we're currently at. I think we're only here because of oil fertilizers, really, that this population, and that really there's no form of agriculture that is sustainable, that could support this many people. So I don't see any other options, even though I hate saying that. So yeah, thanks for the video, Dario, and everyone else. Thanks for listening. Let me know what you think.